Welcome back. Miss Susato is back. It's lovely to have her back. But she's come bearing interesting news. And one person I want to speak to now, because of that, is Mr. Shlomes. Where he is, I don't know. He's probably at Madame Tuspel's working. But you never know, he might be downstairs in the suite. So, 23rd of October, Shlomes' suite. Yeah, there's no one around, is there? There's no one around. Is there anything like new that's cropped up or anything like that? You know how it is. Could have been something. Could have been something. Right, we're meant to go to the prison, but, you know, we'll bounce around these little places first, just have a little gander. Oh. 23rd of October. British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office. Well, what else going on here then? Oh, who's that standing beside Lord Stronghart? I wonder. I've never seen her before. Ah, the young champion of the court. You had some success this morning, I understand. And you've thrown the entire government into disarray as a result. Oh, you mean because of Professor Harebrayne's experiment? Sham science being demonstrated at London's Great Exhibition? The country's been made to look foolish, and now politicians are scrambling to respond. Lord Van Zykes is in Whitehall as we speak, giving an emergency briefing. Oh dear, I didn't mean to cause any trouble. None of this is your responsibility. The government is entirely to blame for having been taken in. The special dispensation that prevents investigation at the scene will be annulled later today. Once that happens, my forensic investigation team will move in and deal with that scrap metal in no time. It's scrap metal now, is it? I mean, pretty much, yeah. It's not an experiment that works. Hello? I really like her design. Medicine maybe. Like based on like the tie clip, tie pin that's going on there. Until later then, Lord Stronghart. Yes, thank you. So maybe like some kind of... like maybe she's the leader of the forensic team or something like that. I like what's going on with her hair though. Who was that? That was Dr. Courtney Sive, Scotland Yard's esteemed chief coroner. Oh! She's leading the forensic investigation team's handling of this case. She was just delivering her report about the victim, in fact... Oh, I see. About Mr. Asman. Following the outcome of the trial earlier, I asked the coroner's office to re-evaluate its findings. I don't have time to tell you what she concluded. If you want to know, you'll have to ask her directly. You can find her in the forensic laboratory. Ah, right. So that's going to be another location then. Now, what were you here to see me about? I can give you 7 minutes and 39 seconds of my time. So he's not running quite so spectacularly late anymore. Alright, let's have a little converse then. Have we got anything we can present? I'm just trying to think like what would trigger with him. Like that made sense it would trigger with him, but is there anything else that I could think would trigger with him? Maybe? It's not. Could I show you this, Lord Stronghart? I am the Lord Chief Justice. I'm not here to offer advice about evidence. Oh. Especially when the evidence in question is so dull. Ah, so that's the real reason. It bores me. Remove it from my sight. Got it. The forensic investigation team. What exactly is the forensic investigation team that you mentioned before? I like his cane. The British Empire's police force must become the most exemplary in the world. For that to happen, it's imperative that we embrace forensic science and everything it has to offer. I first created the forensic investigation team a year ago now, unofficially of course, to pave the way. Goodness, a year ago. At next month's symposium, I intend to present the results of their work to the world. Once I do that, the House of Lords will be powerless to oppose the creation of a full-scale forensics division. And once that happens, the position of Attorney General will be mine, and criminals will suffer dearly. What do you mean? For too long, those scoundrels have made a mockery of our legal system with false evidence and bribes. But London's scum is about to be rounded up and burnt in the fires of hell. I intend to see to it personally by creating the finest police force the world has ever known to protect our honor and our future. Look at those eyes. He means every word. Dr. Sive is an extremely reliable coroner. When I officially establish the forensics division at Scotland Yard, she will run it as my right-hand woman. Now then, speaking of the symposium, Miss Mikotaba.
Oh, yes, my lord.
Your father should be on the high seas as we speak, making his way here to represent the Empire of Japan.
Yes, that's right. I understand he will arrive at the beginning of next month.
Are you acquainted, Lord Stronghart? With Professor Mikotaba, I mean. It was many years ago now, but yes, I remember Dr. Mikotaba very well. Alright then. If my memory serves, it was some 15 years ago now that your father came to Britain as a visiting student.
It was the year I was born, so yes, 16 years ago in fact.
Mikotaba was a young practitioner of forensic science, and Jigoku accompanied him as a young, promising judge. The punctualousness and politeness of the Japanese... They're punctual. And politeness of the Japanese at the time impressed us greatly.
Again, there is a strange similarity in
that aspect between Britain and Japan. There really is. It's odd. It's interesting. Fascinating, one might say. Not that I wish to imply impoliteness or carelessness on your part in any way. I didn't think that you were. Dr. Mikotaba studied forensics at one of London's large hospitals. St. Sinners, if I am not mistaken. Dr. Sive was also there then, as it happens.
Then Dr. Sive knows my father, does she?
She was a young medical assistant at the time, so I doubt their paths crossed regularly. But I've no doubt that they knew each other superficially. After all, Dr. Mikotaba was here studying his subject for some 6 years in total.
6 years? That's a long time to be studying abroad, isn't it? I've lived with my grandmother in those years.
So, he left his newly born daughter behind and went overseas for 6 whole years?
It was a rather turbulent time at home.
Oh.
Perhaps father wanted a reason to get away.
What do you mean? Why? Oh. Well, clearly something was going on at the time. Alright, Lord Van Zykes. I wanted to ask you about Lord Van Zykes, actually. I heard that his older brother was killed some years ago by a mass murderer known as the Professor, who targeted nobles and royalty. Is that right? You Japanese are a thorough lot. You've done your research well. Yes. And you could say it was that very incident that gave rise to the Reaper. What? Why? When his brother, Clint Van Zykes, was murdered, it was just after young Barak had graduated from the University of London and become a professor. Become a professor. When obvious criminals who managed to evade conviction in court started disappearing, Rumours quickly spread throughout the capital. Londoners started to say that wherever Barak van Zykes went, the ghost of his dead brother wasn't far behind.
Oh, my word.
So, Lord van Zykes isn't the Reaper. It's the ghost of his brother? Ever since that time, he became a very aloof figure in London's legal circles. Oh, yes, Lord Stronghart. Go ahead. It's about Professor Harebrayne's experimental machine. We'd like your permission to examine the remains, if possible. Are you well versed in science, then? Not in the slightest. In fact, you could say I was barely aware of the subject at all until recently. Well, the special dispensation legally preventing investigation of the machine is currently being annulled. Within a few hours, Dr. Syve's team of forensic experts will begin their own investigation. But I suppose until then, there's no harm in you looking at the wreckage as long as you touch nothing. Thank you. Being able to look at it is better than nothing.
And I'll be able to see it too.
Your time is up. You'll have to excuse me now, I'm afraid. My next engagement calls.
We are extremely sorry to have troubled you when you are so busy, my lord.
I have important matters to attend to in preparation for the symposium, you understand. Doom, 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 doom. It's a good beat in here. It's like doom, 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 doom. To the prison. I was going to say like, wait, hold on, because yeah, we had another place open up. Yeah, that. But we'll go down the list to the prison because that's where we were meant to be going, wasn't it? "23rd of October, local prison, cell 11. What's he doing?
Oh my, the whole wall of the cell is covered in mathematical equations.
And he's still writing more now. Sort of. Professor, sorry to interrupt. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. And who is this young lady?
My name is Susato Mikotaba. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. It's a pleasure to meet you, Professor.
Oh, if only I'd met a refined young woman like you sooner. None of this would have happened.
No, that's not logical. That makes no sense at all. Oh dear, I'm sorry if my presence here upsets you.
I owe you an apology too, Professor. I didn't manage to deliver what I promised you I would in court this morning.
Oh no. The whole thing, miserable affair. It all happened because I've been such a complete and utter clot. Professor Harebrayne?
Ah, it's good to see therefore several times, yes. Some of these things look familiar.
Professor Harebrayne, what have you been working on in your cell? Oh, you mean that? Oh dear, how embarrassing. I was suddenly struck by an idea, you see, and I simply had to write it down. The wall was all I had to hand.
Oh, is it some new hypothesis? Something to surpass super high velocity instantaneous kinesis, maybe?
No, actually, this is my autobiography. Your autobiography? How I Was Diddled and Fiddled by Albert Harebrayne. I found I can represent my odd fortunes with only odd numbers in an ambitious set of simultaneous equations. Really? I'm going to have to pay back all the loans I took for the kinesis machine, you see.
Hello.
So it's going to be part of a new serial publication from next month, part 1, An Odd Birth, An Odd Upbringing.
You can't beat the man's optimism, that's for sure. I see. Well, For now, would you mind if we talked a little more about the case? Oh, yes, of course. I've been working through the numbers. I was fiddled by the pair of them. By Asman and that aloof engineer Dreb. We're not going to have to sit through an explanation of all these equations. Are we? I'm hoping one of them is like the equations. Alright, fine. This morning's trial. Everything I believed in has been turned on its head. My research, Mr. Asman, the kinesis machine, my hypothesis even. I'm sorry it's come to this. There's really no other way. No, it's not your fault. I wanted to protect my work, but in the end, there was nothing worth protecting. It was never my intention to deceive anyone. I didn't want to trick the public. No, of course you didn't. But in court this morning, I realized something. Oh? If you've done something wrong without knowing it, you've still done something wrong. Logically, it makes no difference if you were aware of it or not. Ignorance is a poor excuse. The blame still lies with me. It depends. Ignorance can be an excuse, but it's really circumstantial. Really circumstantial. Oh, Professor. He believed in me this morning, you know. Barak did. He believed in my hypothesis. Well, I think that was just a necessary factor in the prosecution establishing its case. No, Barak wouldn't do something like that. I'm sure he genuinely believed it. Did he? I think I understand now. Why it was that he decided to take on the prosecution in my trial, I mean. Alright, Van Zyke's motivation. After the terrible accident happened, nobody would believe in my hypothesis anymore. Not the police, not the prosecution service, not any lawyers even. I feel like I dealt some kind of finishing blow there. So if any other prosecutor had taken the case, if it was anyone other than Barak, I'm sure the prosecution would have declared my hypothesis a complete and utter nonsense. And in that case, you would have been declared a fraud yourself, Professor. Exactly. Which would have been a fate worse than death for me. But Barak insisted that I was a proper man of science from start to finish. You think that's why he... I know him very well indeed. He's an extremely kind-hearted soul. But that extremely kind-hearted soul spent all morning trying to paint you as a murderer, didn't he? Yeah, he's working like 5 steps ahead of us though. Well, admittedly, that part of the analysis appears to have some flaws in it. And what about the whole Reaper's side of things? I genuinely think, like, Barak believes in Ryu? Or Naruhodo? His Nipponese friend? His learned Nipponese friend. I just genuinely believes because he's there, that can actually help him out. Works with him. It's a similar thing that we had going on with Phoenix and Edgeworth. How does that fit in with the kind-hearted soul idea? Mr. Asman, then? Do you think he set out to trick me from the very start? I'm sorry to say that it does seem likely, yes. When I first met him, he introduced himself as a wealth financier. He looked over the paper I'd written and said my work would benefit all of humanity and must be pursued. He was so enthused. He was so emphatic. But in reality, he was the mastermind of some vast criminal network, it seems. I still can't believe it. As the machine was essentially a set decoration for some stage magic, it probably didn't require a large amount of investment, actually. But the scale of it wasn't just some small trick. It was a very elaborate feat of deception. All young scientists are full of hope about their burgeoning ideas, full of zeal. But none of us have any money. We want to do research, but we can't afford it. Many of us take on barely legal part-time work, Oh dear. To try to earn just a few measly pennies to carry on. To go on through all of that, only to be taken for a complete fool. It's too rotten to believe. It is, I agree. And that's why we have to find those responsible and bring them to justice. Mr. Asman is no more, of course, which leaves only the engineer. Mr. Enoch Drebber. Drebber the engineer. Is he an engineer or a magician or a swindler? Or all three combined? It was about a year ago Mr. Asman first brought Drebber to meet me at my laboratory. Since then, I have met him many times to discuss details about the kinesis machine. But at no point did you have any inkling that he was just an illusionist? Oh, he definitely wasn't just an illusionist. What do you mean? He was a wealth of deep scientific knowledge. There's no question that the man's a genuine scientist. It's instantly apparent in conversation. I see. But the wretched man deceived you, Professor. It's unforgivable. We must do everything we can to find him and bring him to justice. Are there no more clues you can give us about his whereabouts? I'm sorry. We only ever discussed the kinesis machine, nothing else. Although, just once, I did visit his workshop. What workshop? Drebber's enormous fabrication laboratory where he constructed my great machine. Susuto's face. She just got that look of like, did he really just... Okay. Why didn't you mention this before? Enoch Drebber's workshop. There's every chance we might find the man there. Drebber's workshop. So you've been to Drebber's place of work then? Yes, just once, you understand. It was an enormous place. Plenty of room to construct a kinesis machine, you see. Where can we find it? We have to go there at once. There's a good chance that we'll find Drebber there. You don't know where it is, do you? Well, yes, definitely. I'm sure. As in, I'm sure you're not going to want to hear this. But I have absolutely no idea where the workshop is at all. I'm so sorry. I was more than half expecting that. Yeah. You see, I was blindfolded in the carriage the entire way there. That didn't raise alarm bells. He blindfolded you. He wasn't taking any chances then. The place was incredible. The pinnacle of modern engineering. Even the oil he used was the very best. Like no one ever was. A special French machine oil that's impossible to obtain in Britain. Okay. That's a clue in itself, I feel. The indescribable scent of that imported oil. Perfumers across the world should forget their secret formula and use that instead. What do you think, Miss Suzuto? Ode a machine for your next birthday? I've never used any kind of perfume, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm not sure I'd like to start with that. I don't suppose you know even part of the workshop's address, Professor? You don't have a business card from Dr. Drebber, for example? The man was clearly very cautious, Miss Suzuto. I'm sure... Aha! Yes, I do. He gave me the business card once. What? It's right here, look. What? Let me see that. Throw etiquette out to the wind, why don't you? You have a bloody business card? Enoch Drebber, engineer. I'm afraid that's all it says. There's no address. Huh. No. Oh, well, I can't say I'm surprised. Still, this could be useful. Drebber's card has been entered into the court record. Let's have a look at it. Anything more here, though? Nope. Alright, okay. Let's have a look here. What's this smudge? What's the smudge? Smudge is important. This dark smudge here. I think perhaps it's machine oil? Ah, yes, possibly. Professor Harebrayne mentioned something about the oil Mr. Drebber uses, didn't he? Yes. Said it was specially imported very high quality oil that's impossible to obtain in Britain. Yes, that's right. But more importantly, that it's more fragrant than the finest perfume. So, excuse me a moment. Oh, it doesn't appear to have any scent at all. Don't worry. I expect that's just because there's such a tiny amount on here. Yeah, that's why. Details of Drebber's card have been updated in the court record, so just the smudge. Alright. The negative and positive. It's a nice touch, but I'm wondering if that has some basis on anything else. Okay, so let's move on out and head over to the experimentation stage again. See if we can find anything here. 23rd of October, the Great Exhibition Grounds, foot of the Crystal Tower. Oh, that's quiet. Oh, look at the doggy! Had no idea there were so many people in the world. I know what you mean. It's really packed here today. Feels as though it's taken us 2 hours just to make our way through the crowds to this point. Has it? Shut my brain down so I didn't really notice, to be honest. Gosh, I do wish I had your absence of mind sometimes, Mr. Naruhodo. Bit harsh. There you are. I had a feeling you lot would show your mugs before long. Oh, Inspector Gregson. I see you're hard at work as usual. Warm greetings to you. I do hope you've been keeping well since we last met. What's with all the ceremony? We just saw each other in court this morning. Not you, sunshine. Gentlewoman so loyal, so loyally at your side. Oh. Why, thank you, Inspector. How good of you to notice. Might be a bit rough around the edges, but he's still a proper English gentleman at heart. I suppose. As you probably guessed, we were hoping to investigate the scene some more. Right, well, that's the young trainee's domain. Oi! Get over it, Gina. She's playing with the doggy. She seems to be busy playing with her puppy. Probably giving it a traditional East End training. Gina? She's a police officer now? Amazing, isn't it? She's a good kid, actually. Heart's in the right place anyway. She's got the detection bug, if you ask me. Yep, I think she'll follow in my footsteps nicely. What do you mean? I'm being transferred. It's time for me to say toodaloo to London. Oh no, really? That's a bit sudden, isn't it? I had no idea. Where are you going to be posted then? Welcome to see how you're getting along. Not likely, but you're welcome to try. If you don't mind a trip to France, that is. To France? I'll be working in the Paris Police Prefecture. Should be right up my alley. But France, it's an entirely different country. I don't understand. Why would you be sent there? That's the way the adult world works, sunshine. Now don't go poking your nose in where it's not wanted. I'm intended to take the kid with me when I go. What? You're taking Gina to Paris? Well, I can't leave her here in London. Who knows what become of her? I suppose he's worried she'd slip back into slipping her hands into people's pockets and purses. I don't think he's worried about her pickpocketing, Mr. Naruhodo. I think he's worried about the Reaper. Oh, of course. So that's playing on the Inspector Gregson's mind too, is it? Anyway, I haven't mentioned any of this to Gina. So don't go blabbling, you hear me? No, of course not. I've got to keep that diving diva safe and sound till all this is over at least. Oi!
Did you just call me a blooming diving diva again?
So you heard that, did you? Alright, well, any questions about the scene, you can put them to my capable detective diva here. Alright, you heard the boss. Inspector Lestrade's in charge here now. I suppose I'd better keep my word and not mention anything about Paris. So, Gina, about Paris. You got a new dog, have you? What's he called? Oh, look at him! Isn't he great? Toby's his name. Toby! Oh, how delightful. He's absolutely adorable. Yes, the dog does seem lovely. But it's the not-so-lovely Inspector Gregson that's playing on my mind, to be honest. Oh, we're at that point, are we? So, I'm thinking this is a good place to actually end this part. We've had a little bit of a talk here with these guys, but in the next part, I think I'll have a little bit of converse with these guys. There's not much around I really want to inspect, really. Like, what else is there to inspect that we've not already done? Down here, anyway. So I don't feel like there's anything new. We'd just be treading over old ground, sort of thing. But we'll see about the investigation in the next part. Ta-da for now!